What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here, and usually on Mondays I do reviews of X-Men related books, but today I wanted to do an X-Men theory that I've had for a little while now, long before I started doing videos. I've had this theory kind of percolating in the back of my mind, at least somewhat, and then events that happened slightly more recently have kind of helped solidify this theory in my brain. I want to talk about the possible connections between Emma Frost, the White Queen, one-time villain and enemy of the X-Men, now an X-Man herself, and a character from the 2099 comics from the 1990s, December. Emma Frost was introduced right around the time when the Dark Phoenix saga was getting started. She kidnapped Kitty Pryde. She was almost lobotomized by the Phoenix, and then she had several more encounters with the X-Men throughout the 80s, and then the very late 80s, very early 90s, all of her students, the Hellions, were murdered, and that kind of set her on a path of being a little bit more heroic. For about 10 years, she was one of the mentors to Generation X, and she was a lot more of a good guy than she had been previously. And then after that, she went on to being a full-time X-Man in Grant Morrison's New X-Men, and then Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men, and now she's pretty much just a member of the X-Men. Like, a lot of people, I would imagine, they look at her and they say, oh yeah, she's an X-Man, before saying, oh yeah, she's a member of the Hellfire Club. But what's important to note here is that her name is Emma Frost. Her last name is Frost. Now you have December from the 2099 comics. She was a teenage mutant, part of the short-lived series X-Nation 2099, which was a spin-off of the X-Men 2099 book, and basically this series starred a whole bunch of teenage mutants living in Halo City, which was kind of the predecessor to concepts like Utopia, the Utopia Island from the mid to late 2000s. It was later 2000s. This is a city for mutants, and these kids all lived in Halo City, and they had various adventures. Well, December, she has the power to basically control temperature, kind of like Iceman. She has ice-related powers, and her name is Winter Frost, which is a very silly name, and apparently, there's been some fan speculation pretty much ever since her last name was revealed to be Frost that she is related to Emma Frost. Now, I've never actually encountered any other fans that held on to this speculation. Ever since I found out that her last name was Frost, I kind of thought, well, maybe she's related to Emma Frost, but I've never actually seen anyone else voice this fan theory. And you could say, right off the bat, that it's a fairly common last name in the Marvel Universe. You've got Emma Frost, you have Deacon Frost from the Blade comics, and then you have Carmilla Frost from the possible future of Killraven, and we already know that Carmilla Frost cannot possibly be related to Emma Frost because the boy who will one day become Killraven in the current Marvel Universe, he's already about 8 or 9 years old. He appeared in the Wisdom miniseries from several years ago, and he's already about 8 or 9, and Carmilla cannot possibly be any younger than him because in the possible future of Killraven, Killraven was only about 20. So that girl, it's not like she could possibly be the daughter of Emma Frost, because if she was, she would already have to be about 8 or 9 years old. So Carmilla Frost, we already know that she cannot be related to Emma Frost. And also, you have to keep in mind that Emma Frost is her maiden name. She's not married. It's not like she has a husband named Frost and then any kids that she has would carry on the Frost family name. If she was to have kids, it would be a situation where either A, someone knocks her up and then she goes off somewhere and has a kid, and that kid just takes on her last name and not the father's last name, or she would marry somebody but she would say, I want to keep my last name, and then for whatever reason any children that she has would also keep her last name. So right off the bat, some people who are watching this video might be thinking, okay, it would be very tricky to try and connect Emma Frost with Winter Frost, December from X-Nation 2099. And you might also be saying, well, Emma Frost has a couple of siblings. She has a brother and she has a sister. Well, the sister, she wound up murdering her near the very end of the Generation X series, which actually, that issue where she murdered Adrian Frost, that was actually published after Winter Frost was introduced in X-Nation 2099. So it's very possible that the people working on the X Nation book were intending for her to maybe be a niece or a grandniece or something of Emma Frost, and maybe not a direct descendant. But Adrian Frost was murdered by Emma Frost near the end of the Generation X series, so we can pretty safely assume that Winter Frost does not come from the line of Adrian. And then you've also got Emma's brother, who is insane. We find that out, I'm sure it was revealed somewhere else. There was an Emma Frost solo series in the 2000s that I haven't read, but in Morrison's new X-Men run, we are told that Emma's brother is actually insane and that he was at one point committed to an asylum. And I'm not even sure if he's still alive circa the present day in the X-Men books, but at the very least, it would be extremely difficult for him to get back out there and father any children to carry on the Frost family name. So if Winter Frost is in any way related to Emma Frost, she is either a direct descendant or Emma has some cousins that we don't know about who went on spreading the Frost family name, and December is very distantly related to Emma Frost. But we also have to take into account Emma herself. Emma does not strike me as the kind of person who would actually want to go out and have kids. She loves children. She loves teaching. Teaching is like her defining characteristic. For the past 30 years, teaching has been what defines her. It's been her thing. Whenever the Hellions died, she kind of had this little miniature mental breakdown because her students were dead, and that was kind of what gave her life purpose. Even though she was an enemy of the X-Men and she did some horrible things, we find out that she's not 100% bad because she does care for these kids and she wants what's best for them. And that was kind of a running thing in the New Mutants series of the 80s, where she wanted the New Mutants to be her students also, and she cared for them and she wanted what was best for them, even though they saw her as a very terrifying, very untrustworthy supervillain. So she likes children, but she is not the kind of person who would have kids herself. I could very easily see Emma Frost saying that having kids would be very messy and it would take too much time and it would take up time that she could be using to guide the X-Men, to kind of be a behind-the-scenes mover and shaker, and also would take away from her teaching. So while she likes teenagers and teaching them and training them and molding them, I cannot see Emma Frost actually being a parent. And yes, we have seen alternate futures like X-Men The End, where she and Cyclops had a few kids, and then also the alternate future of the Summers Rebellion, where Bishop came from. Years and years after the Summers Rebellion was ever hinted at, we find out that there is Ruby Summers, who is hinted to be Cyclops and Emma Frost's daughter because she has powers that's kind of a combination between what Cyclops and Emma Frost have. So there are possibilities of Emma having children in these other timelines, but in the present day, I just don't see Emma Frost being the kind of person to settle down and be domesticated. She just doesn't seem like that kind of person. There's nothing wrong with sitting down and having kids, but Emma does not strike me as the kind of person to do that. So with all of this evidence kind of stacking up against me, it seems very unlikely that Emma Frost is actually related to Winter Frost, except that there is one small item that we haven't covered yet. In the X-Men Phoenix War Song miniseries, it is revealed that the Cuckoo Girls, there was 5 of them, and then 2 of them died over the course of Grant Morrison's new X-Men series. There are 3 of them now. It's revealed that they are all biological clones of Emma Frost. More specifically, they are actually biologically aged incredibly fast children of Emma Frost. Someone took Emma Frost's ovum, and they somehow populated these eggs to make actual children. So the Cuckoo Girls, as well as there was thousands of others, but I don't think any of those survived, but the Cuckoo Girls, they are actually biological children of Emma Frost. Now, as of now, or as of the last X-Men comic that I read with the Cuckoo Girls, they were not crazy fans of Emma Frost. In fact, for a while now, they have not liked Emma Frost at all. Since the end of the new X-Men series, they've basically ousted her from their lives. But let's hypothesize for a minute. The 2099 universe is a far way off, and I know that technically the 2099 universe has been established as being its own separate world. It's like Earth 933 or something like that, whereas the Marvel universe, the official Marvel universe, is actually like Earth 616. So technically, the 2099 stuff is not the possible future of the main Marvel universe like what we thought it was whenever those 2099 comics were first coming out. But I like to imagine that items and elements from the 2099 comics could possibly happen in the future of the Marvel 616 timeline. And so I like to think that 2099, that's still a good 80 years away from here. It's still a good ways off. So it's possible that a lot of stuff could happen in between now and then. And back when Emma Frost was first slowly being groomed into being a good guy, that was like the mid-90s. So the 2099 comics at that time, that was like 100 years off. So there was even more chance for stuff to be happening in between the present day and the 2099 comics. So what if, let's just say, that the Cuckoo Girls, at some point in the future, they reconcile with Emma Frost. And let's say maybe Emma dies, and then one or multiple of them all decide to take on the last name of Frost to honor their biological mother, who also kind of molded them and trained them and made them the women that they are at that point in their life. And so now you've got 3 women who's all carrying the last name of Frost. And maybe in order to continue to honor their mentor, Emma Frost, maybe if any number of them go out there and get married and have kids, maybe one of these girls would be the type of girl to say, okay, I want to get married to you, but I do not want to carry your last name. I want to keep my last name of Frost as kind of honoring my mother, Emma Frost. And so it's very possible that Emma Frost could possibly be the grandmother of December Frost, or Winter Frost, December, from the X Nation 2099 comics. Especially if the Cuckoo Girls, they're still teenagers right now. They're probably 17, 16 years old, so they could feasibly wait 20 years before they had kids. I've seen people who are in their mid-30s who are having kids, so these girls could wait until they were 36 and still have kids. So it's possible that one of these girls, they had a kid, and then it's maybe not, Emma might not be the grandmother of Winter Frost, but she might be the great-grandmother. One of the girls, the Cuckoo Girls, they might be the grandmother. One of them might be the grandmother of Winter Frost. And like I said, Frost, pretty common name in the Marvel Universe. There's really absolutely no way that Carmilla Frost could be in any way related to Emma unless she's descended from like a distant cousin of Emma. And also Deacon Frost, don't really see any way that he could be related to Emma unless he is a distant cousin to one of her ancient ancestors. But for the most part, the Frost name, it's not like it's such an unusual last name in the Marvel Universe that anyone who has that last name is automatically related to each other. But I think that it's very possible that December is a descendant of some kind of Emma Frost. And like I said, since Emma does not strike me as the kind of person who's going to settle down and have kids anytime soon, it's very possible that December might be descended from one of the Cuckoo Girls. In fact, as of now, that is my headcanon. That is what I am accepting as actual fact. December is related to Emma Frost. So what do you guys think of this fan theory? If you like it, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see more videos like that, let me know in the comments below. I will try to alternate my reviews with topic videos like this every once in a while concerning the X-Men. I love talking about the X-Men almost more than I love reviewing X-Men stuff. I love just throwing out there weird ideas that I have concerning the X-Men. So those are my thoughts on the Emma Frost December possible the relationship. What do you call it? Familial relationship. Those are my thoughts on that video. So I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you guys later this week with some other videos. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.